Hi folks, welcome back to the Hoard. I'm still processing through a bunch of the stuff I got over the weekend, and it's time to get that 185S started. I picked up the bike and I was told it had no spark, and I went through it and sure enough it has no spark. Somebody has hacked around with the wiring, kind of taped up some stuff and, fooled with it here. So I did, the next logical thing. I pulled the CDI off and I did all the voltage measurements to ground. And everything came up pretty much normal. Give or take a foot and a half. So I said, okay. I changed the CDI, and I did that a couple of times, and it's still no spark. Then I changed the coil, and still no spark. And then at that point, I said, screw it, and I rebuilt the carburetor, and I used my portable CDI box. You guys, if anybody's new, the portable CDI box has a GY6 12-volt powered CDI, and I got batteries in the box to make it go, and it's also got the matching coil, and the wire comes out and goes on the spark plug right there. The only thing it wants from the engine, the only thing it's after, is a pulse, and the pulse generator's here, and I am getting a pulse, and I'll show you. We'll fire this thing up in a minute. So that should be no surprise to anyone. When you're looking at an ignition system and you say, hey, I have no spark, what are the different parts of the ignition system? Just going through real quickly. You have the flywheel, which magnet goes by the coil, and that creates energy that, if I was running on the OEM CDI unit, not my portable, that energy goes into here. And the second thing, a lot of flywheels have a magnet on the outside, which goes by a pulsar, which causes your spark. This one, the pulsar's up high here, right? So you got a stator coil, you got a flywheel. Up here, you have, we could call it another flywheel. You have a thing that goes around with a magnet on it that goes by a pulsar, and the pulsar generates a small pulse which tells this thing when to release the energy this just got from the flywheel. Okay? That energy goes through the wiring. This is basically a step-up transformer. It gets the voltage up high enough that it's able to form a spark. Anyway, fooling around with this, I know I have pulse, I know I have proper timing, because, check this out, let me put the camera down for a second, that way I can gun it for you a couple of times. I don't know, could you see me? Give or take a little bit, there you go. So obviously it starts, it runs, I popped it into gear, it even moves a little bit, so this is a nice bike, it's a nice deal. Let's get back to, and you guys didn't see any smoke, right? Sounded pretty good. Seems to start pretty easy. Very positive. This appears to be a nice bike. While I was fooling around with it, I checked the timing, and I also spent a little time kind of moving things around. It appears as if the timing chain is nice and tight. It's not like you move the flywheel and you can move it like a bunch of degrees before the cam moves, right? So the chain appears tight. It all appears very, very happy. So at this point, I have a no spark system, but all the measurements look good. I told you I already swapped out the pulsar a few times. Told you I already swapped out this a few times, and I had it properly grounded. I've seen grounding issues here, where you lose grounding here, and somebody must have noticed something like that, because I see like an extra ground wire. Somebody futzed around with this whole harness affair. I haven't tried the on and off switch, and from a turning the wires on and off point of view, it appears to be working. So kind of a challenge to me. I'm gonna futz around with it a little more and figure out what's going on. And the way I'm going to do it is, once you guys, for some of you regular watchers, you know, I have this ignition system where the only thing I need is the pulse to trigger the spark. Then I have, it's called the pit bike ignition system, where I use the stator from this thing, and I use the pulse, but the rest of it, the CDI unit and the spark coil, are on their own harness, and I'll see if that works. And while I'm fooling around with that ignition system, I'll probably try these guys out, because I can plug them right into that ignition system, make sure all my CDIs are good, and I'll probably also check out the spark coils. Once I do all that, what's left? Well, if my coils are good, and my CDIs are good, and my stator's good, and my pulse generator's good, and obviously my spark plug is good, that just leaves the bike harness. And once again, somebody kind of putzed around with this a bit, so that's what I suspect. Right, I mean, you got some really interesting stuff that's gone on here. So, all right. So anyway, this is kind of a two-in-one video. I wanted to show you guys this thing ran, and I also wanted to give you guys a little bit of troubleshooting, what I kind of go through as I'm trying to figure out what's going on with these things. Just one other quick thing, and I just want to plant this in your heads just from a learning point of view. What is the difference between like this 185, right? What's the difference between this 185 and this 200 ES? Or it could be a 250 ES, or it could be a TRX, 250 ES. What's the big difference? From an ignition point of view, nothing. They are all using AC powered CDI systems. But the difference is there's a secondary system that runs on 12 volts that does such things as charge your battery and powers your lights and so forth like that, runs your starter. These things, you got two coils in here. One of them runs the lights, and you probably notice at an idle, especially if you got your thing tuned properly so it idles down really nice to make shifting easy. You'll notice your headlight is kind of dim. It's got like 6-8 volts on it. And if you're strung up really tight, screaming across an orchard in third gear, right, or even if you get it into fifth, but you're wide open and driving it for all it's worth, you notice your headlight's pretty bright. That's because you're probably pumping out the major part of 20 volts, right? The good thing about it is you don't have a battery, you don't have a regulator, you don't have any of that other crap. The bad thing about it is your headlight voltage is all over the place and you don't have an electric starter. Why is this discussion important? I'm going to put it in the next video because I've had somebody who keeps asking me about key switches, and I'm going to talk about them again. And hopefully I can kind of get this person out of where they are. They seem to be stuck. All right, folks, I want to thank you all for watching and commenting and subscribing. Remember to keep your feet down, keep your heads up, and get out there and enjoy all your days. Bye now, folks.